Win big with new DRF All Access past performances. With one best-in-class product, you now get all three past performance formats. Go to DRF.com and use coupon code 1FREEPP for a free single card today.
Dan Illman, Mike Beer taking a look at race number 5 at Belmont at the Big A on Friday. It's the first of 2 stakes races on the turf for 3-year-olds. This is for the fillies. It's the rescheduled Glen Cove at 3/4 of a mile on the outer turf. It's the opening leg of the $1 pick 6. And if you want to play the pick 6, here's a great opportunity to get 10% off DRF past performances. Shop now by using the QR code on your screen and use the coupon code DRFTV. 10. Here's the field for the Glen Cove. We've got 8 in the body of the race. The 9 Golden Degree is entered main track only. This race is still kind of in flux, Mike. The 2 Cairo just ran 5 days ago. I'm not sure if Cherie DeVoe is going to run back here. Twirling Queen is cross-entered at Keeneland in what I think seems like a more difficult spot. And Progeny is also cross-entered at Belmont on Saturday.
Yeah, there are some questions here about how this is going to shape up, but those are really important questions too, Dan, because Twirling Queen is one of the horses to beat in here. Cairo's one of the horses to beat in here if they're going to, wheel her back on short rest. And then if they don't show up, it just sort of kind of opens this race up to some other horses.
We'll throw up the Timeform US pace projector and keep in mind that this pace projector automatically updates after scratches are made official. Moonlit Lady should show speed, as she did last time out at Keeneland, where she really blazed the way and might have gone too fast. She might not have to work as hard to make the lead here, but she's got to go a half furlong farther.
Yeah, it's a little bit more distance for her. That's could be a real problem for her, considering the way she just finished up in that last race at Keeneland. I do expect them to use her speed, though, Dan, because that's her running style. I guess the key to the pace is the 5 L&J, because if Twirling Queen runs here, the 4, she's just a really tactical horse. I don't think they're going to be sending her, but L&J, she might be a horse who comes out of there running in this race to try to make the front.
And if the pace is hot, you might want to keep an eye on the 7 Agra coming into this race. Sharp note, the LP flag over her number 7 Chicklet, that indicates she has the fastest Timeform US late pace rating. Let's start things off with the 1, Ready to Jam. And the first thing I did was draw a line through Ready to Jam's most recent start. It just doesn't look like she wants anything to do with route racing at this point in her career. 2 starts back, she returned at Woodbine off about a 7-month layoff, and she rallied from off the pace to win, going 3/4 of a mile there. I'm not sure what kind of field she beat that day, but she looked pretty good doing it.
Yeah, it really did. I feel the same way about it, Dan. I mean, it feels like maybe there just wasn't anything in there, because she won that race so easily. But she also got a really big figure for the performance, and it was sort of it was nice to see her step forward for the first time, because you mentioned the layoff leading up to the race. It feels like things just really weren't going well for this filly. End of last year into this year, a vet scratch after the Natalma, a vet scratch again after the Keeneland race, where she didn't run as poorly as it looks on paper. It just feels like maybe there were some issues that she had to clear up earlier this year. Maybe Mark Cassidy's gotten them cleared up. She looked really good winning off the layoff.
And she had some potential last year, earning a stakes placing as a 2-year-old. And not only was that distance too far, she was probably in a little too tough in that Winter Memories. Another one of the also-rans came right back and won an allowance at Keeneland, beating Moonlit Lady. Cairo is the number 2, and we've talked about her last week, where she was entered in several spots. They decided to run her in the Franklin, which we thought was a very, very tough spot, and it was a little bit too tough for Cairo. Whether she runs back in this race on short notice, I don't know. I would guess not. But if there's some pace and she does run, she's a threat.
Yeah, this is a good spot for her. To be honest, I didn't think the Franklin was a tough spot for her. And then I'm sitting there watching the race over the weekend, and she's 44-1 in there. Like, she had absolutely no chance. I have no idea what was going on there. She never made a real impact. They just sat wide with her on the outside. She ran at the end of that race, but she was no factor. This is a better spot for her. I don't know if they're going to wheel her back. And I don't love the idea of taking her off of really short rest. But if she runs here, she can win.
Moonlit Lady's the number 3, and she is fast, and she is one of the expected pace setters. Let's watch her most recent start, an allowance race 2 weeks ago at Keeneland. Now, she went really fast. Look at that 2/4 mile. It went 43 3 to the half. She's on the lead. She's on her left lead, and she's understandably getting tired. But to her credit, she's going to dig in pretty gamely and just miss.
Yeah, I mean, she just gets caught at the end of this race, and she gets run down by a pretty good horse too, Cloudwalker. There's nothing wrong with her. She's a really strong finisher. She's going to come flying late and nail this horse. It's a tough beat, Dan, and I get that the pace was fast. I still think she's got to win that race.
It's fair enough. She does have a late lead in there, and it will be interesting to see if she has to go as fast in this spot. Twirling Queen is cross-centered. She's won her last 4 starts, 2 on synth, 2 on turf, including this win in the Coronation Cup at Saratoga. She found a really good position early in the second flight, tracking on the outside. She makes an outside bid into the stretch, and once she changed over to a right lead right about there, she's going to put things away. She beat 3 next out winners in this race, and her tactical speed just likely will have her in very good position when the real racing commences.
Yeah, got a great trip in here, but also wins convincingly. That was Cairo chasing her home there in second. Cairo actually ran really well in that race in her own right. This horse just 2 for 2 in her last 2 starts on turf, Dan, both in stakes races, both against good fields. She got great trips in both of those races, but she also ran really well both times. I have no knocks on this horse. In some ways, I kind of feel like she's the horse to beat.
Ever since Brad Cox moved the 5 Ellen J to the turf, she's been a completely different animal. She's won both of those starts, including her most recent race at Ellis Park. Now, I know those fractions look very, very fast on paper. I thought Ellen J made a pretty easy lead in that race against questionable competition and then sprinted on home. I like the way she did it. The final eighth of a mile, she's very visually impressive in both of her starts, but she's going to know some other speed in this race, breaking to the inside, and she might have to work pretty hard. I also think, though, she's still all upside.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think she's all upside too. And I guess if you feel like the pace is going to be really fast with speed to her inside, I guess you have the turf debut two back to hold on to, because they didn't send her in there. They just sort of sat up close, sat 4 wide around the turn in that race, and then got the job done. I mean, she was pretty desperate to hold on, but I thought she ran really well in that race without making the lead. Like you, I know the fractions look fast in there, but she was just absolutely loose and unchallenged last time. Still visually impressive winning.
Progeny is the number 6. Now, she's tried turf on 4 separate occasions, and it just hasn't worked out for her in any one of those spots. If she does run back here, she's at least coming into the race in good form off a victory on the main track. I just think there are a lot of class questions here as she jumps out of a quarter condition claimer and a lot of surface questions.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, she comes in off of a win. That's great. They dropped her in for a $35,000 tag to get it done on a different surface. Her turf races, they don't make her a contender in here at all. I guess if you wanted to say she's a sprinter and the last 2 turf starts are routes, then maybe you could hold on to that.
Brad Cox switched Ellen J to turf, and she's become a new horse. Belmont removed the blinkers from the number 7 Agra, and she seems just more comfortable raiding in the early portion of her races. She won at Ellis Park, and she backed that up right here at Kentucky Downs. Turning back to a sprint for the first time in a while, she settled off a pretty fast pace, but rallied into it and keeps grinding away.
Yeah, it looks pretty good winning here. Nice move forward too. It happened at Kentucky Downs, so you have to sort of take it maybe with a grain of salt. But I, like you pointed out, Dan, the blinkers came off. It feels like she's really responded in her last 2 starts. If this field holds together, maybe she catches some pace to close into. She certainly feels like if there's a fast pace in front of her, she could really be heard from late in this race.
I'm not sure what to make of the 8 Time to Dazzle. She earned a giant figure 2 starts back off a layoff in the Ontario Colleen, but she just shot out of the gate and no one went with her. And it's not like she was blazing the trail going a 1-turn mile at Woodbine. She went a half mile in almost 48 seconds flat. I don't know where anyone else in that field was. She's 6 lengths clear and she scoots on home as she should. I thought she ran okay at Kentucky Downs last time out. It wasn't the kind of trip I think that she was looking for. I just wonder if really a sharp 6 furlongs is what she wants.
That was my concern too. We'll see how it all plays out. I respect that her last 2 races are both actually pretty good, but as you pointed out, an easy trip 2 back, not a great trip last time. I don't think she was winning anyway, but that wasn't a perfect trip for her. But that's 6.5 at Kentucky Downs, and it plays a lot longer than the 6 furlongs here.
Golden Degree has entered main track only. If this race is washed off, she is obviously a main contender for trainer Linda Rice. Let's take a look at our top selections for the Glen Cove. First leg of the dollar pick 6. You're ready to jam from Arcassi. Turning back could be the key, and I think you made some very good points. This is a horse that showed promise. They gave her the time that she needed, and the race 2 back showed that she still has something.
Yeah, that's how I looked at it too. We'll see. I mean, she's obviously got something to prove, Dan. It's not an easy spot for her. I do think her catch a glimpse last year and her return from the layoff, I think that they show that maybe she can go with horses like this. And I also felt like even if the field does hold together, I think she's going to be a fair price on this race.
Ellen J did get a good trip when winning last time out, but I don't think she's completely dressed up because I liked her turf debut as well. And with her tactical speed, she's going to be sitting just off the leader, turning for home. We'll find out how good she is as she makes her stakes debut in the Glen Cove. 1425 for Mike, 5483 for me. It's the Glen Cove. Kicks off the pick 6 at Belmont at the Big A on Friday. Good luck. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like and subscribe button below for more great DRF content, including race of the days, stakes previews, and lots more. You can find it right here.